Water. The lifeblood of the nation. Water, turning barren dirt into rich, productive soil. Water, the life source of Australia's greatest tourist attraction, the Great Barrier Reef. Water is the lifeblood of Australia's livestock and agricultural industries. More than anything else, drought limits stability and production and creates great problems for the rural industry, which then adversely affects the whole of Australia. In common with much of Australia, the Central Highlands of Queensland has a variable rainfall. The annual average is around 600 millimetres or 24 inches. And when it does rain, a little of the rain goes into the soil. A little is stored in dams, but most of it just runs away to the sea. Even if half of this runoff could be stored in large dams on individual properties and used during the ensuing years to irrigate large areas of crops and pastures, the effect of drought could be eliminated and of enormous benefit to Australia. One Australian has devised a complete plan to do this. His name is P.A. Yeomans, and his plan is the Keyline Plan. P.A. Yeomans always described himself as having an affair with the land, and Keyline dam constructions using bulldozers with gelignite for compaction is approximately 40% of the cost of conventional methods. On the 17th of December 1981, the Queensland Country Life newspaper headed a feature, "Central Queensland Cattleman Backs a Dream." That cattleman was John Sweet, and the dream was to drought-proof his property, Rugby Run, using the Keyline Plan. Rugby Run is situated in the Central Highlands of Queensland, about 150 miles west of Mackay, between Moranbah and Claremont. And Rugby Run is owned and operated by John and Margaret Sweet, and run as a family property. Water is stored in 3 dams situated on the highest points of the property, so gravity can be used for distribution. The first dam is a valley dam and is named Lake Stewart. It was completed in 1980, and the storage capacity is 500 acre-feet, and the storage covers an area of 100 acres. Lake Stewart is filled by runoff from its own valley, supplemented by a 3-mile-long catchment channel, shown here still flowing 3 days after a 3-inch fall of rain. After heavy rain, this channel carries water 5 feet deep. Lake Stewart once filled in 24 hours, due mainly to the catchment channel. The second dam is a recently completed Keyline Barrage Dam, and is named Brigadoon. It again is located on top of a hill near the homestead. Its 60 acre-feet capacity is for cooling the homestead by virtue of the prevailing wind blowing over the water. As well as cooling the homestead, Brigadoon water will be used to establish a nursery for fodder trees and grow a rainforest around the homestead. Currently, these poincianas, mangoes, jacarandas, bananas and coconuts are thriving on unlimited water from Lake Stewart. Natural material is used whenever possible around the homestead, as in the gravel driveway and basalt garden wall built by young son Matthew. The third dam is a large Keyline Barrage Dam and is partially constructed. The bank of this barrage follows a contour. The wind wall is at right angles at each end and goes upland to give the required depth. Its capacity will be 1,200 acre-feet, and the bank is over 1 mile long. Keyline dams are constructed using large bulldozers moving dirt from an excavation adjacent to the bank, with second gear being used for economy and for the extra vibration and compaction. Further compaction is carried out by exploding gelignite underwater. Here Lee is using 2 sticks of gelignite taped together. They're thrown out into the water and sink to the toe of the wall, where they explode, compacting the wall. A significant leak in Lake Stewart was once stopped by this method. In the heavy autumn rains of 1983, 15 inches in a few days, the catchment channel had to be blown up in the middle of the night to release excess water brought in by the railway under construction. The bywash was at full capacity and the water was within 1 inch of the top of the bank. Emergency floodgates have now been installed. It is very important for someone to be trained in explosives, and Lee passed his course at the Burdekin College. Water for irrigation is released by turning on a valve fitted to the lock pipe system. The pipe is 2 foot in diameter and goes through the wall of the dam, as shown here at Lake Stewart. The water is released into the still pond to kill the velocity of the water, and the average volume released is 1.5 million gallons per hour. However, this does depend on the depth of the water above the lock pipe. This gives an irrigation rate of around 20 acres per hour. Soakage from the channel causes prolific growth of roads and buffel grasses and legumes. The water then travels along an irrigation channel from the stilling pond, and this is on a contour to the irrigation country. The bays are contained on each side by steering banks 50 yards apart. They are surveyed precisely down to the maximum slope of the land for up to 1,000 yards, hence making each bay from 12 to 15 acres. All cultivation and planting is parallel to these steering banks. That is exactly up and down the slope. This results in perfect drainage and no erosion under irrigation or heavy rain, and is a proven fact that Rugby Run has been observed by 2 senior officers of the Soil Conservation Department. This resistance to erosion is further enhanced by the improvement of soil fertility and by the use of companion legumes, with all pastures and grain and fodder crops, as shown here in this crop of French white millet, mung beans and cowpeas. Note the difference in the crop before and after irrigation. This is a typical cowpea plant growing with a crop of French white millet for grain. It was planted 6 weeks ago and is showing good development of taproot. Note the large nodule showing that it is fixing nitrogen from the air. Keyline practices to use companion legumes to fix nitrogen for use by grain crops and pasture. Also to provide organic matter from the deep taproots as they die, and to make use of that unexplained something that monocrops of grain do not yield as well as grain crops grown with a legume. Reference is the trial results from the Indian Department of Agriculture with sorghum and cowpeas, as supplied by the Queensland Department of Primary Industries, and many press reports, along with personal documented results from practical farmers in Australia. When there is a foot of water against the water gates, one is opened, and a large volume of water ensures fast and even coverage of the bay. A large volume is used for economy of time, and also so it is only in contact with the soil for an hour or less. Slow, low-volume irrigation is much more costly and waterlogs and sours the soil, causing many problems, such as nutrient availability and salinity. Gravity is the only form of power used. Another aspect of Keyline is water focalizing, where a system is designed without any water storage. An irrigation catchment channel is placed across a creek or hard runoff area, draining say 5,000 acres. This water is transported by the channel to say 500 acres of irrigation country and spread over the entire area, thus multiplying the rainfall. This happens automatically every time there is a runoff and is suitable for high quality pasture or fodder trees. Keyline is using water and design to improve our living environment. It creates a living, fertile soil, capable of continued improvement of fertility and production. Don't treat our soil like dirt. To the man on the land, water is nature's most important gift. When water is not controlled, it can be devastating. This is soil erosion in just 3 years after the resumption of areas of Rugby Run to allow the railway construction.